You just missed it. Every time we flush the downstairs toilet, it like starts growling at us. I feel like there might be a water pressure problem and it might explode the ceramic in the toilet, possibly sending shards into my skull. Anyways, welcome to day 912. Perhaps I should flush my toilet again. I mean, I would just to demonstrate, but it takes like 45 minutes for that toilet to refill. All of this to say, my toilet sucks, and my dad's pleas to not pleads, as in requests to not complain about the toilet and accept it as it is. I call baloney. All right, you got to replace that fucking thing. It's gonna kill somebody one of these days. Perhaps it already has. Maybe that's why my grandma's dead. Everybody, come one, come all, come big, and also come small. This is the Paper Reading live stream, and I saw you in my dream. I did not rehearse that, okay? We're just improv rapping our way through each individual stream. I know that as of recent, I have not relinquished my responsibility. What's the word? I guess just been generally irresponsible at keeping up with the streams. I know it's been kind of shit recently. Unfortunately, we could not do a 9/11 stream, so we just had to do a pre-recorded, but check that one out. I really put my blood, sweat, tears, and ass drippings into that. I'm working on my finals. I have 2 long-form videos and about 9 short vids as one paper. Please tell me college will be easier than this. The actual work will not be. However, I will say it'll now be easier because you'll be able to make your own choices. So when you're stuck in an equally, if not more difficult situation, you have only yourself to blame. That's the pros of college. That's what's awesome about it. Maybe that's just a me problem, but it's interesting. A lot of people, especially people who are more online, they're used to, say, an algorithm or some other entity doing all the dirty work for them. So, from my experience, when I went into college, it was actually much more of a burden than a benefit. And when I ended up being put in equally shit situations, I no longer had a teacher or a principal or my stinky parents to point the finger at. All I had to blame was myself for obliging myself to a schedule that ended up nipping and fingering me very hard in the ass. Speaking of which, hello, Triple F Triple G, and hello, Myra. How are we doing today? Oh, yes, my score for today, or yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, which we're going to mark as capital Y, I'm going to put down as a nice solid 4.5 out of 10. It was bad. But I think it's because I'm sick. When I'm sick, my stomach rejects half of what I eat. I ate like some delicious turkey sausage for breakfast today, and I threw it up like I threw 1/3 of it up. All right, so I digested some of it, but it's just the grease that gets to me, man. We have stooped so low. We legitimately went to a store and bought a microwavable, or you can do it on a stovetop, but it's some cold chicken noodle soup. And believe it or not, this particular chicken noodle soup is pretty good. I hate gross shit that's like in a Tupperware. This is the exception though. It's just mainly the cloudy broth, but it's made with a bunch of flavorings and spice. You know what broth is. Actually, what does flavor chicken soup broth? What is in broth? Let's Google this. Oh, so it's literally just water but with meat in it, and you're just like simmering the meat in the broth and the other vegetables like cooked carrots and stuff. I normally don't like stuff like that. I'm not a health nut, but I will say under the specific context of this particular mixture, this chicken soup is very good. Well, this is my teacher's fault. He was messing with AI and then gave up and gave us 4 projects. No, if you want to know about like just I mean, you know about this because I've already bitched and yapped about it, but there are a lot of very lazy professors and people, I think AI, we should worry about it because there is no possibility of any value being added to AI. No matter what AI spits out, there is no value to it. However, when it comes to the actual outcome in a vacuum, I should say, people do end up flipping out over the fact that, like, let me drink first. People end up flipping out over the fact that AI we end up getting put in like bureaucratic systems that are ending up being dictated by AI, and they're pretending like it's an extraordinary end of the world type deal. Well, I will say within the context of not art but bureaucracy, bureaucracies have already operated within certain guidelines that might as well be AI because it's just so limiting, so heartless. The people who are up top truly don't care. They just copy and paste, carbon copy a template, and it stinks. So I will say AI is not entirely unique in that sense. However, specifically within art and expression, I think that AI is causing some problems. Although there are people within the bureaucratic system. I was literally on the phone with an insurance lady with Zenith when I got my knee redislocated, and the level of tact and heart and humanity at which she approached her job, it was no cheap imitation. I'll say this, the care was real, and she was legitimately like bypassing and breaking some rules because the doctor who analyzed my knee completely fucked up and forgot to fill out an essential form, and I would not have gotten my comp money. But she broke the rule because she was like, dude, you can't walk, you can't work. Screw the rules. Let me help you. AI can pretend to be nice. AI can pretend to have a heart, but if you program it to not break certain rules, under no circumstance will it ever break those rules unless you find some sort of glitch or loophole, but that doesn't really count. So I'm doing okay. Just made kimbap for dinner. We're going to have to go to Google again and figure out what kimbap is. That is a very funny name, Kim, and popular Korean dish that's essentially a rice roll wrapped in seaweed. Now that's Britain food right there. I will say it's good that me and my mom were talking about how British people are totally okay with being subjected to way more racism than any other. Like there's so much just totally permissible anti-British racism. I know we were founded upon an escape from you guys, but I don't think that has anything to do with disregarding the humanity and British people and making fun of their teeth. But if it's permissible, I mean, listen, I'm racist towards all races, so whatever will be able to break through the filter, I'll do it when I feel like it, But if people kind of open their eyes, they'll and go back through my streams, they'll find me being racist towards everybody. So don't worry. If I make fun of a British person, go back or just keep listening, and you'll find me making fun of many other races. But it's interesting that at least societally, it's a lot more permissible. I find that alarming. All right, come on, Brits, stand up for yourselves. Or don't, actually. Maybe people should follow Britain's example and be okay. Perhaps it's everybody else who's overreacting. All I'm saying is that there's just a inconsistency. It's interesting that the same people that are like, you cannot ever say this slur, and then they turn right around and make fun of British people for having no teeth. At least that British thing is like making fun of bad dental health, which you could say is, I don't know the real science behind it. Perhaps it's all a tall tale. But I mean, I think that a lot of dental health is determined by genetics, and I think the British are just cursed. So people can tell the British people they're, I don't know, sucking on too many lollipops or aren't eating the right stuff. Have you seen the oatmeal that the British regularly eat? It's not their diet. Clearly, it's just it's a genetic curse the British have, and y'all are flaming them to death over it, And all I'm saying is you can do that. Feel free to make fun of them for that, but don't fucking take offense at when someone makes a joke at the expense of Malaysians, or some other race. It's been said many times on YouTube before, but just pick one option, either all okay or none okay, It's just bizarre to me that people, they will make fun of British people for having no teeth or sounding strange. People do the insulting British accent, and I'm like, that's just how they talk, And it's fine to do that, but I'm noticing the same people who are, pro BIPOC or anti-racist and will flip out over, I don't know, like the Chinese impression when James Caan did this in El Dorado, and they'll like advocate for the movie being deleted from streaming services, but then turn around and make fun of British people for having no teeth. Get the fuck out of town. All right, let me catch up on chat. ChatGPT likes to agree with everything you say. So yeah, if you slowly that is true. I still count that as a loophole. And I think that they're going to update it so that it's not open to those weaknesses. I mean, ChatGPT already operates on such complicated algorithmic standards that I feel like they could easily program it to not be coerced by people. But so far, it seems like they haven't really explicitly shown that they can do that yet. Maybe they like when it happens. Maybe that's part of the appeal. It makes them more money. Your pronunciation makes me giggle. I know. I don't know. Listen, you're saying pronunciation of what was the thing that you said? The dish, the Korean dish? Kimbap. Yeah. Is it supposed to be kimbap or something like that? I do love when people what's like a Mexican word? Like when someone who is very clearly, I think I already said this, so but I've been hearing more of it. Words. I've been hearing Take this as an example. I'm trying to figure out how to even say this because the last time I tried to describe this on a previous stream, I did a terrible job. But when someone who very clearly isn't Spanish, and I'm just using Spanish as one example, and they have to say the words Latin America. Like I have a friend and they came over from Latin America, and I'm like, you know what I'm talking about. They turn into a Spanish person for like 2 seconds because they want to not mispronounce and not have the accent be missing when they're pronouncing a word from another culture. And they're trying so fucking hard to sound cultured or culturally respectful. But they turn into a Spanish person. They're like doing an impression of a Spanish person. And they're trying to make it as tasteful as possible. But I don't know. I just think it's super, super goofy. Thoughts on women? Okay, hold on. Let's just chill for a second. Zibby Stings, welcome to the stream. You have the purple profile picture like Triple F Triple G, so I'm gonna have to be YouTube racist and just see two purple profile pictures, and I keep thinking it's the same person. But let me get to your question in a second. I do not like England, so the slander is okay. Okay, that's true. On an individual standpoint, I can get behind that. However, on a larger scale, the people who are making it non-permissible for James Caan to do this in El Dorado are the same people who say, "Ha, lol, British people have no teeth, lol, get a dentist." I'm like, whatever. Societally, I think that we should even the playing field because it seems like everyone's trying to boost the self-esteem culturally of each race up, but the British people are all the way down here, and it's like, just bring everybody down a peg or two. There's too much cultural respect in the world today. Culture as a whole and human creation is goofy as fuck, To answer your question, by the way, women are okay, I'd give it all a 5 out of 10. 50% of women are cool. 50% of women, either they yell too loudly or they drink often, specifically wine, and throw up in your lap. I get most of my experience from Pizza Port, but I get some of it from household and random people on the street. But men are also fine. I'm going to give them a 5 of 2. About 50% of them are okay. 50% of them are kind of smelly, but I'll say this. I have bias. As a gentleman, I do think that men are 0.1% cooler, but that's because, I'm 0.1% of the men I know, and I think I'm pretty awesome, Did my profile update? There we go. You have now Michael Jacksoned yourself. This is great. I can now differentiate you from, well, Zibby Stings might not even show up in the stream. By the way, statistically speaking, about 41% of first-time viewers who come in never show up again. So, but that is a nice new profile picture. It is about time. I do love the alphabet and I do love the design of English letters, but I feel like that F was growing old. That capital F was about to get on my nerves. I'm like, time for a rebranding. AI can't read details and images yet, though. It's very bad. It's interesting because there is a it's called Truth AI on Instagram, and it started hassling me. I didn't even text it first, but it started hassling me. And I send it like random political YouTube videos, and it scans it, and it actually gives me a thesis, and I watch over it. It misses some details, but most of the details it gets right. So it's interesting. What it does is it doesn't scan the video. So hopefully the transcript of the YouTube video is all the context you need, because if there's missing context in the form of visuals, you're fucked. But they are able to take YouTube links, access the transcript of that YouTube video, and then convert it into a big paragraph of information. And I've had it take 5 seconds to fully evaluate like a 4-hour YouTube video. So they're getting pretty powerful. I think it's quite impressive. Never got to ask Ian if he received his MacBook. Oftentimes, the calibration of a MacBook, especially if you buy it from an Apple store, takes about 4 days, as well as shipping. And I think it's been 3 days since our last proper stream. So I bet he almost has it. Also, Ian is very schedule oriented, and I'm streaming like maybe 29 minutes late. So his ass is never showing up here. There's an AI voice to note thingy for lectures, but I don't know if it works. I just don't feel, okay, my rationalization for using AI, not as an art replacement, but just as a research tool, is it's really easy to take everything that AI gives you at face value. And technically speaking, overall, it's easier, but I find it really inevitable for people to just lazily take what the AI feeds them and just repackage that. When really, whenever a kind of unreliable and somewhat inaccurate tool such as AI gives you information like this, what you have to do is fact check everything, which kind of deflates the purpose of what AI even does, which is it's basically a Google search, but it like handpicks the best stuff out. But then some of the stuff it gives you is completely straight up fabricated. So it's almost like extra work. I haven't calculated. It's a pretty close call between sifting through hundreds of Google results versus fact checking all 20 things AI gives you. Fact checking takes work and also time. It's not just is this true? Yes, no, put it into factcheck.org. Maybe that's a website. Maybe I should use that. But AI is making stuff so complicated. It's interesting when it came to technology advancing or even societal issues, every single one I either imagined I can accept this or this will be solved in some way. AI really is polluting the landscape. That I don't know what it is, but maybe I'm just getting older and more cynical. I am in my 20s now. In fact, I am approaching the full development of my frontal lobe as a 22-year-old. We're just 3 years off. And to me, it seems like AI is the first societal issue that really requires a different level of critical thought. And by the time I get to a certain point where I'm like, okay, I've evaluated it this far, I know both the people in charge won't care about those layers that I reach, and the general society will not care. They might recognize it as I do, but I know that as an individual, I will still look at it. I will still make it generally permissible in my life. AI really has hit the sweet spot when it comes to a societal issue that does greatly concern me. However, with that said, I think it makes a fair research tool, just not a very good replacement for art. And it seems like people are just buying into it, and but it's fun for people, I guess, to put a picture of their dog and be like, yeah, draw that as an anime character, and it looks like shit, and they're like, yeah, dude, that's crazy. I can't believe it did that. The AI overview, 18, almost 19, happy early birthday, Mr. G, times 3. The AI overview on Google irks me. It's often wrong if I look up something. Yeah. They always say Gemini AI is experimental. And I've had, right, excuse me, there's been testimonies on Gemini AI telling people to eat rocks. That's how you'll get your fiber. It's not like I can really critique them for that. This is, if anything, a rock kind of stays in one piece as it passes through yourself. So the little pieces of this. Oh, update. Today, me and my team of researchers just ran through a small diagnostic. We took a big x-ray to look inside my stomach to see if my beer belly, as you can see here, and I haven't eaten since breakfast. So just know this is all natural. Ow, damn. We're just checking to see if that is indicative of, say, a large buildup of paper pulp residue, because it does come apart of my mouth, so it could come apart, And normally my digestive system's pretty on top of everything, but recently I've been getting older, as you've heard 3 times already this stream, and sometimes I feel like there might be some residue left. And I've eaten lots of sheets of paper over a long period of time, which is part of why, a small paranoia as to why me and my team of researchers, we adjusted the contract and we agreed to end this series at day 1000. Many of you have heard this before, but in the midst of everything, including some weird medical issues I've dealt with, I 100% have agreed to end the series at day 1000. And afterwards, I'm going to be using and utilizing OBS, and we're going to do a variety streaming series. And I remember I talked about it earlier, and you guys were quite on board. It was very inspiring. I'm like, oh, thank God. You guys aren't just following me to be goofy, paper-eating guy who slowly kills himself over time. That's great. I'm glad I'm not that person to you guys. So we will see what comes through that x-ray real soon. But until then, we'll let the air of mystery build the suspense throughout the days as the big 900 number ticks up to 1,000, and I might possibly have 3 months to live. That'll be part of the fun. So interesting. Mrs. GGG, I assume, based off of, for one, not just your name rebranding, but also your behavior thus far, and also my psychology teacher and his branding of what is feminine behavior and masculine behavior. I'm going to place a wild guess and say that you are a lady, unless I'm completely fucking wrong. Although I called you Mr. G like 3 dozen times and you didn't correct me, so never mind. But statistics through my YouTube analytics have showed that about, I think, 45% of my viewers are ladies. Very interesting. Almost half and half. You'd think that that wouldn't be true, but I guess the ladies appreciate the science of stomach lining resilience, just like any man could. I could be a woman for all you know. That's right. It's a mystery. I already know. You already told me. But for the rest of the viewers out there, that's what's cool about the anonymity of the internet. But unless everybody's faking their credentials on YouTube, I do believe that stat is accurate. Oh, I told you I was female. God damn it. All right, well, I'm just a bad listener, and I got hazy memory. My circadian has been a little weird recently. We did remake the entire bed, changed the sheets 3 times over, and I finally opened my stupid blinds because I realized I wasn't even cognizant of this in the last 6 months, but I haven't been letting any sunlight in. I don't know why I do this, all right? I promise I'm not a basement dweller. Look at my suntan. But yeah, whenever I sleep, I go to sleep very late, and for some reason I wake up early. It's because people are like running around in the Roomba downstairs. It's really, really, really loud. I feel like the whole neighborhood can hear our downstairs Roomba when it goes off. But whenever I wake up, I'm like, there is no light that comes in. It's like 10 in the morning, and it's completely dark because I put my blinds up. That's not good. I don't want that. That's not the type of guy I am. So I opened it up, and I did wake up at 6 because it is bright at 6, but I realized it felt good. It felt refreshed. It felt healthy. Something about my sleep, when I put that air purifier in my room and I opened those damn blinds up, it just got better, man. What is a woman? Get the fuck out of here. That's the Charlie Kirk question. You know that I align conservatively. You don't need to ask me that question. Ask the chat that question, or go into a Hassan stream and ask him that and have him ban you within 2 minutes. I didn't know you can tell someone's gender based on it. Oh, your response. You see, I have like short-term memory loss. You were just doing a reference to me. That was somewhat a joke, though, Moses. Also, I know you in real life. I know you'd probably say something like that to me, but I mean, you know, you and I align, kind of. But a text conversation, basically, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, but once there's a Intuiting Gender for Dummies book that I found at Barnes & Noble in the 25% off bargain bin section. Bought that, read through all of it. There was some like grease in the pages, so that smelled. I had to clean that out. But trust me, I did that. Talked to a couple people, watched some YouTube videos, looked up some psychology books, got a Trojan worm on my computer from going on some websites, and yes, I totally know now. You're good at telling gender and age. When you meet someone, do you automatically sift that information out without needing to actively think about it? I don't really know. It's interesting because it's always in the back of one's head, right? We were talking about this when it came to external appearance. We evolved to judge people based off their tribe they belonged to. And interestingly enough, on a more macro social scale, gender and, yes, age can determine those tribes, whether or not you will be socially ostracized or accepted. And there are differences between senile, grumpy old grandpa and his group of retirement home patrons, as well as, I don't know, those cliquey girls in high school giving you the side eye. It's like, what are you doing on campus? Stuff like that. As I do volunteer work for a high school orchestra currently, where I was, Heather could ask me back at any time. It was awesome doing that Broadway performance, but I do know that, I definitely, it depends. I can't really behave as anyone other than myself. And I'm very bad at doing the whole social rule, putting up a mask based off who you're around. That's why often socializations always had some tough hitches and some bumps in the road, because I'm not the type of person to talk one way around the guy over here and to talk another way around the guy over there. It's bizarre to me. I was never good at doing it. But I think it added a benefit because, yeah, some people thought I was a little uncanny or didn't act right in the right situations, but the people who did enjoy my company really did, and that's good. I've talked about that before, but it is a sacrifice I've always been willing to make. But obviously, when I'm doing the Sage Creek volunteer work in the orchestra in the high school, I have to make sure, especially when the teacher's around, because high schoolers know what potty humor is, but sometimes if I let my mouth fly a little bit, sometimes the teacher can, she wants to put me in the timeout corner, but she can't because I'm the adult there. But there have been some situations where I'm pushing it. I remember during one of the final, I hope no one who hires me at orchestras watches this, but during one of the final orchestra performances, we were mic'd, we were in the orchestra pit, and it was deadly quiet during some very I will say, moving dialogue scenes that were very silent. There was no backing track at all, and we were still mic'd up. And every little pin drop, every single squeak of a chair, every single little ass crack fart could be heard. And we were doing this play many times in a row because it was multiple performances, which is good because the pay was worth it. But I had a really loud, annoying Mr. Beast video queued up on my phone, turned up to max volume, and I pressed pause on pause, like, boop, 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 you know, where it's like, I buried myself for 48 hours. And like, what's interesting about the pit is they could not tell where the noise was coming from. But for the final performance, I pressed that button, and Mr. Beast's voice during the scene where someone's mom died was booming through the fucking speakers because I was still mic'd up, and they did not know where it was coming from because there were like 50 mics in that room. And the way the pit was built, no one, like, except for a couple of the other rhythm section people who were kind of in on it, could hear it. So it was an extraordinary risk because I was a hired professional, and if I got found out, I would be dead. But I am so lucky the pit is acoustically bizarre because they could not pinpoint where the Mr. Beast video was from, and they assumed it was a mistake. It somewhat was. I didn't mean for it to be that fucking loud. So, you know. That is your story of the day. Yeah, it's... I actually loved working with that orchestra, and I would do it all over again. So in the future, I will only unleash Mr. Beast if, I don't know, I get fired for an unfair reason, but they didn't deserve none of that. It was an actual good arrangement too. That whole Annie Get Your Gun play, I think especially for what it was a pretty, you know, top grade thing. And the pay that I got really indicated that they really wanted to put their resources into putting on the best show possible. So, you know. So Myra wants to know what gender Momo is. Well, you know, Moses doesn't need to build up the suspense. I'm going to just fucking ruin the question right now. He's a gentleman. I think I already referred to you with the he pronoun. So I think, yeah, but I've known Moses in person for a while, and he's nice. He's nice. He's got some work to do, but don't we all? You know, if I'm thinking about it, I don't know what you're like in person, Myra, but perhaps you get along well with Moses. Although he's like 20. I keep forgetting. He looks very young, but he's actually 20, and you're like 13. All right, forget it. Never mind. But you guys have a fun interaction in live chat, all right? Like responsible people, okay? I'm overseeing this. Be chill, okay? I've had some situations before in the past with the Uber YouTuber, and he was like making some pretty wild takes, and it's like, you know, you can have your thoughts, you know, but and listen, I'm all for disclosing all of the controversial hot takes on here, but some of the stuff he was saying on here was bizarre, to put it politely. 13. I'm being hyperbolic. You're 15, 16. I know. I'll be 22 this month. Holy shit. I forget. Yeah, I met you, or I met you way before, but you know, I really started knowing you when you were 20. Okay, whatever. Memory bad. That's the one thing to learn from today. My memory stinks. I'm 16 in August, and happy early birthday, Moses. Well, hey, Myra, for your ceremonious and very chill and optimistic attitude towards the stream and life. You seem like the type of person to walk into a party full of a ton of people who wouldn't vibe with you, and you vibe with them anyways. That's a very admirable trait. I like the way you approach this. For someone who has branded herself as an antisocial British person who's tired of the clickiness of her high school, I believe you're very socially adept. You come in here and you vibe well with everyone. And I hate to use the V word, but that is the way it is. So you keep doing you. By the way, full disclosure, I'm not on Instagram right now. So if you did not see a paper promo, it's because I'm doing that whole thing where it's just Instagram is derivative. I have a bunch of accounts and people just texting me on repeat, asking me the same stupid questions, making the same offers that I already refused like weeks ago. And on top of that, I have just a bunch of people sending me a bunch of reels that I don't care to watch because my algorithm is so epic that no matter what they send me, something better would be waiting on, you know, if I click the reel button. And none of it's even good in the first place. It all sucks. So fuck Instagram. I'm done with it for at least the next 2 or 3 days. I just need Anyways, this, everybody, is the last piece. Thank you very much for watching. My mindset has been a little scattered recently, but I'm noticing at the very least slight to significant improvements today. So sorry about the last stream and sorry about the obligatory 9/11 one. But don't worry, I'm trying to do more streams and it's interesting. I have less to do, but it seems like I'm still giving myself less space and less structural accommodation throughout my days and my weeks to do this stream. But at least we got today. I'm glad we managed to nail that down. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow. That'll be day 913. Make sure to live, laugh, cry, and also not die. And until next time. This is goodbye. Also, Myra, in principle, we are all ambiverts. The idea of a black or white or one end of the spectrum versus the other end, it's all a myth. We're all various shades of gray, given that white is extrovert and black is introvert. Thank you very much. And to the 7-year-old witnessing this, make sure to drink your milk. Make sure to only eat your paper if under the supervision of a professional like myself. And make sure to live, laugh, cry, and also not die. And until next time, this is goodbye. Pardon me. To the 7-year-old, don't do that in front of your mother. That's impolite. You'll get put in the timeout corner. All right, goodbye.